Well. Good morning, the Q. Hey, Q crew. Hope you're doing well this morning. Let me get rid of this so I can see you guys. There we go. Can you guys see me okay? Are you there? All right. If you are with us, there we go. Good morning. I hope that I have appropriate internet. Can somebody tell me how you're doing? Hi, Sarah. Good morning, Kimberly. Good morning. Wakey, eggs and bakey. Time to get up and get in the Word this morning. We'll see how many people show up at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, the day before Thanksgiving. Everybody's probably cooking a turkey and getting ready. Morning, Brian. Good morning. Results are in. Sarah has COVID. Oh, Sarah. I am so sorry. Stink, Sarah. That is not good. I am so sorry. Morning from Midland, from Jamie. Good morning, Brenda. Good to see you this morning. Can you guys see me okay? We got quality. My Wi-Fi doesn't look that great, so I'm on my little bar, so I'm worried about the quality of my program this morning. You guys see all right? Somebody give me a heads up, a thumbs up if we're doing fine. Good morning, Jennifer and Brenda and Jennifer and Brian. Give you an update, dear update in a minute. Brenda, okay, we got good quality. Good. I'm gonna get this over with quick. I'm sporting the new hat for this year. You guys have seen 2 or 3 so far. The Heflin family Thanksgiving extravaganza. This is the new one, Spring Creek Ranch, 2013. This is our Thanksgiving hat for this year. So there you go. Everybody's saying, hi, Sammy, looking good. Frankie Ballard, hey, good morning. Looks good. Okay. Kimberly says, looks good. It's inevitable. I think the worst is over, though. You look good. Sarah, I am so sorry that you have COVID, but you think the worst is over. Welcome to 2020, right? Yeah. We're going to get going pretty quick this morning, so just get in and go. Good morning, Dan. Good to see you. Yolanda, good morning. We'll see. I don't know how everybody is going to do this morning. We're in Acts chapter 27. Paul has a little adventure on the water this morning, so we're going to try to get through it and get right to it. Yeah. Francis, good morning. Francis Walker, you love 9 o'clock, so I'm glad you're here live. I love it. There's old Stephen Groneman. Good morning. Deer hunting in the blind this morning. Made the ultimate hunter's mistake. I'm old and rusty. Hadn't been at it all year. Got there late. As I walked up, there were deer already on the corn that I'd put out last night. Deer everywhere. Of course, they saw me, smelled me as I was walking in, and they blew. Did have a doe and a fawn come in late, but nothing else. I think the rut is pretty much, I hadn't been here, so I think the rut's just about over. I tried calling some bucks. No luck calling any deer in, and I think there's a lot of pigs around. So to be honest, I wouldn't mind taking a pig instead of a deer. So we'll see how that goes. I did not have any shootable deer in front of me this morning. I wouldn't mind taking a doe, and I might. We'll see. But it was a little bitty doe and her little bitty fawn that came in late this morning. So we'll just see how it goes. I'll hunt next week quite a bit too. So, all right. Don, good morning. Glad you're here. All right. Well, we got 25 folks in the house. So let's get going. Have a little quiet time this morning. The whole point of what we do here is that I have a quiet time every morning, and you guys get to have it with me. I'm tempted to do it at 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock Colorado time, because that's whenever I would normally have my quiet time. But for the sake of everybody, I think I'll keep doing it later at 9 o'clock in the morning like this. And maybe a lot of traffic over the next few days. We'll see if I can find a nice, quiet place to do it. We'll see how that goes. So, hey, Mandy, good morning. Ela, good to see you. Stephanie and Ela just showing up. And Sarah has COVID, just so you know. Sarah just shared with us that she has COVID. So is there anything else I need to cover this morning before we get going? Acts chapter 27, let's get going. For those of you that don't know or are new to this group, welcome in. We have a really neat group of people that meet together every morning. We're always wanting more people to meet with us, but it feels like kind of a tight family. And you just join in and start talking, and you'll get welcomed into the family, to our church that we have every morning, our fellowship group every morning. So just jump in and start talking. If you're new to the group, please feel free to join in. Hi, Janie. Good morning. Pamela. There she is. Hey, Sammy. Well, I wouldn't mind shooting a turkey if a turkey came in. We have plenty of turkey out here too. So I would be glad to take a turkey if a turkey came in. We've done it before. So, all right. Well, Acts chapter 27, here we go. And whenever it was decided that we should sail for Italy, it was decided by the people who had Felix, and the crew, Agrippa, that Paul would go to somebody else to stand the next trial. Paul is still a prisoner, but he has his group with him, Luke and the crew with him. But he's still a prisoner. So they're going to put him on a ship, send him to another dude, and let him decide what to do with him. But Paul's still a prisoner. That's where a lot of our letters come from, this imprisonment that Paul has. He wrote a lot of his letters, the Pauline epistles, during all this imprisonment. So just so you know, that's where it came from. Sarah says she's actually doing much better. Day 5. Thanks, everyone. I'm so sorry, Sarah. Definitely be praying, Sarah. Please let me know if you need anything. Yes. All right. So that Luke, writing the book of Acts, is with Paul, and he said they set sail for Italy. They proceeded to deliver Paul and some prisoners to a centurion in the Augustan cohort named Julius. So this is where Paul is going. He's going to, I guess, stand trial before a dude named Julius in Italy. So he has to go from where he is, Rome, up to Rome, and then some part of Italy. We don't know. I don't know where it is. Verse 2. And embarking in an Adramyttian ship. Don't know what that is. Anybody got a clue on verse 2? Here it is. A port on the way on the coast of Asia Minor, modern Turkey, just south of Trios. So I guess this ship is destined for this location or left from that location. All right, so we're on this ship. He was about to sail from the regions along the coast of Asia. We put out to sea, accompanied by Artricius and a Macedonian of Thessalonica. And then the next day we put in at Sidon. Julius treated Paul with consideration and allowed him to go to his friends and receive care. So Julius was kind to Paul, or showed him consideration at least. So verse 4, Acts 27, verse 4. And from there we put out to sea and sailed under the shelter of Cyprus because the winds were contrary. Keep that in mind. The winds were contrary. They weren't helping them sail the direction they needed to sail or that they wanted to sail. The winds weren't cooperating. the winds, or the one who directs the winds. I believe the one who directs the winds, the one who created the winds, the one who is the author of the winds, who is God, Yahweh, our God, was directing, and he was being contrary to what they wanted to do. I'm assuming not they being Paul and Luke, it was they being the ship's captain and whatever they were supposed to be doing with the ship. Verse 5. And whenever they had sailed through the sea along the coast of Cilicia and Pamela. Hey, they sailed by you there, Pamela. We landed at Myra and Lycia. And there the centurion found an Alexandrian ship sailing from Italy, and he put us aboard it. And whenever we had sailed slowly for a good many days with difficulty, we arrived off Cnidus. Since the winds did not permit us to go any further, we sailed under the shelter of Crete off Salamone. And with difficulty sailing past it, we came to a certain place called Fair Havens, near which the city of Lycia. And when considerable time had passed, and the voyage was now dangerous, since even the fast was already over, Paul began to admonish them, saying to them, Men, I perceive, watch this. Paul says, Men, I perceive that the voyage will certainly be attended with danger and great loss, not only of the cargo of the ship, but also of our lives. So Paul, having the wisdom of God, God speaking through him, Paul giving him, remember, God has been giving Paul kind of wisdom and vision and inside information. So God was speaking, I believe, through Paul, but the centurion was more persuaded by the pilot and the captain of the ship than by being said by Paul. Here we go. Here's the battle between good and evil, the battle between spirit and flesh, the battle between God and Satan. Here's the battle. God speaking through Paul was trying to give them wisdom. They wanted to do what they wanted to do. Have you ever been there? I have been there many times. That is me over and over again. The wisdom of God versus the wisdom of what I want, what I think I want. I have more knowledge. The Jews said, we know right. Paul says, no, it was Jesus the Messiah. Who's going to win? Who should we listen to here? Well, let's see how it turns out. But the centurion was more persuaded by the pilot. In other words, the captain of the ship. Verse 12, Acts 27, verse 12. And because the harbor was not suitable for wintering, the majority reached a decision to put out to sea from there if somehow they could reach Phoenix, a harbor of Crete facing southwest and northwest, and spend the winter there. And whenever a moderate south wind came up, supposing that they had gained their purpose, they weighed anchor and began sailing along Crete close to inshore. But before very long, there rushed down from the land a violent wind called Euraquilio. They called this wind Euraquilio, I guess is what it's saying. This violent wind, they thought they had it figured out. They thought they were on the right course. I've often thought, oh, this is good. This is where I'm going. This is what I should be doing. I know I didn't listen. I know I didn't really do it the right way, but look how well it's working out for me. Look how, have you ever asked that question? A guy comes into my office and he says, and his wife is just beat up, broken, tore down. He's just destroyed her over the years. And he's sitting there on my couch, all cocky on my couch, acting like he's all that in a bag of chips. And he's telling me how wrong she is, how stupid everybody else is, how if everybody just do it his way, then everything will be fine. And I lean over to him and I look at him gently and I go, your children hate you. Your wife says she's leaving you. How's your way working out? How's it working out for you? If you're so right, if you're so sure of yourself, how's that working out for you? Your life is falling apart. And he's still sitting there defending himself to the core. And I'm looking at him going, yeah, well, how's that working out for you? Well, I think Paul is probably sitting back on the deck of the boat, watching everything, and he's chilling because he knows that God's in control. And he's probably saying, how's this working out for you fellas? Because they think it's working out pretty good until this violent wind comes down, right? Oh, we're doing the right. We're not listening to you, Paul. See, Paul, you don't know what you're talking about. And all of a sudden, a violent wind comes down. And whenever the ship was caught up in it, could not face the wind, we gave way to it and let ourselves be driven along. And running under the shelter of a small island called Claude, we were scarcely able to get the ship's boat under control. And after they had hoisted it up, they used supporting cables and undergirding the ship, and fearing that they might run aground on the shallows of Citrus, they let down the sea anchor, and so let themselves be driven along. And the next day, this is some fascinating maritime stuff, by the way. I love learning how they used to manage themselves in the ocean. I guess they would drag anchors along so it wouldn't blow them so fastly along the floor of the ocean. Verse 18, the next day, as we were being violently storm-tossed, they began to jettison the cargo, throwing it over, getting rid of stuff. And on the third day, they threw the ship's tackle overboard with their own hands, since neither sun nor stars appeared for many days, and the small storm was assailing us, and no small storm was assailing us. From then on, all hope of our being saved was gradually abandoned. All hope of being saved was gradually abandoned, right? And Paul's sitting back going, how's that working out for you? Maybe your life is a mess right now. Maybe you thought you should do it this way. Maybe you've tried to do it your way. And I think we have to ask the question, how's that working out for you? How is that working out for you? In fact, in verse 21, Paul says, and whenever they had gone a long time without food, then Paul stood up in the midst and said, men, you ought to have followed my advice and not to have set sail from Crete and incurred the damage and the loss. Men, you should have followed my advice. He said, how's that working out for you? I gave you the right advice. I gave you godly wisdom. So how's that working out for you? Maybe that's our challenge today. Maybe that's the thought today, is figure out some areas of your life that you're so fearful of, that you're so worried about. Some areas of your life that you haven't let go and let God. Some areas of your life that God has been telling you, trust me, trust me, trust me. Some areas of your life, God has been saying, you know, you need to do this. You need to love your spouse better. You know, you need to step up in this area of marriage. You know that you need to let go of that thing that you're holding on so tightly, because look at yourself. How's that working out for you? Maybe that's the challenge we have today. And Paul is telling these guys, how's that working out for you? Verse 22. And yet now I urge you to keep up your courage, for there shall be no loss of life among you, but only of the ship. So this is interesting. Paul originally said, guys, we shouldn't do it. We're going to lose the cargo, we're going to lose the ship, and we're going to lose lives. Don't do it. It's dangerous. And I guess God has given him new revelation to say nobody's going to die. God had told Paul, okay, nobody's going to die. And that's how God does. Whenever you're at your lowest point, whenever you're at your end of your rope, whenever you're literally, the storm is on you and there is no hope, and it looks like everything is lost because you've tried to do it your way. You've tried to manage it your way. You've tried to control everything around you. Then God steps in again. He says, how's that working out for you? You didn't do it my way to start with. He said, but be of good cheer. Be of hope. God is in control. I'm in control, and he gives you hope. He shows you a way out. Verse 23, for this very night, an angel of God to whom I belong and whom I serve stood before me, saying, do not be afraid. An angel of God. Maybe Jesus, probably Jesus. I don't know. It didn't. I don't know. I hadn't studied if this is Christ or not. But God has told me, don't be afraid. This is what God says to you. This very night, an angel of God, whom I belong, whom I serve, stood before me, says, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Listen, do not be afraid. Whatever that thing you're so afraid of, it ain't going to happen until God says it's going to happen. Or it ain't going to happen at all if God says it ain't going to happen at all. Be of good cheer. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. No matter what you're afraid of, no matter what your fear is, no matter what is on you, no matter what storm, Sarah, no matter what COVID you got, right? Do not be afraid, right? Do not be afraid. God is with you. Do not be afraid, Paul. You must stand before Caesar, and behold, God has granted you all those who are sailing with you. God has granted you. Therefore, keep up the courage, men. I believe God, that it will turn out exactly as I have been told. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Hear me on this. Do not be afraid. All those people coming for Thanksgiving, whatever's going on around you, do not be afraid. Whatever your trial is, your financial burdens, whatever your illness is, whatever is facing you today, do not be afraid. God is the God of hope. Verse 26, but we must run aground on a certain island. Paul is telling them what's going to happen. We need to run aground on an island. And whenever the 14th night had come, as we were being driven about by the Adriatic Sea, about midnight, the sailors began to surmise that they were approaching some land. So they took soundings, found it to be 20 fathoms. I don't know how far 20 fathoms is. A sounding. So cool. Make a noise and wait for the echo. See how long it takes for the sound to bounce off the land back to the ship, and we can tell how far we are. Love that. So fascinating to me. They went a little further. They took another sounding, found it to be 15 fathoms. So they're coming up on this island. And fearing that we might run aground somewhere on the rocks, they cast out 4 anchors from the stern and wished for daylight. You ever done that? You ever cast out 4 anchors and wished for daylight? Been there, done that. I don't know. All I know is we're coming up fast. The ship's going to run aground. It's going to destroy itself. And all I can do is throw out some anchors and wish for daylight. You ever been there, right? Most of us have been there. I got no hope. I can't control it. God is in control. He's driving the ship. He's forcing us this way. God is doing whatever he's doing, and I'm not liking it. All I can do is throw out some anchors and wish for daylight. Been there, done that. Maybe that's where you are today. Maybe you're spinning out of control. Maybe your mind is obsessing. Maybe you're hurting, you're scared, you're frustrated. Maybe you're angry. Maybe you're caught up in some nasty sin. Throw out some anchors and wish for daylight and pray. Let God get in control of the situation, which he is. He's in control of this situation. You're throwing out anchors, wishing for daylight. Paul's sitting back on the deck. We're good. God's already told me we're fine. We don't need to freak out. Paul is chilling. Paul is not afraid. Paul is not worried. Paul is trusting God. Everybody else throwing out anchors, wishing for daylight. Paul is trusting God. Maybe you need a little of that today. Maybe I need a little of that today, right? What verse am I on? Verse 30. And as the sailors were trying to escape from the ship, and had let down the ship's boat into the sea on the pretense of intending to lay out anchors from the bow, Paul said to the centurion and to the soldiers, unless these men remain in the ship, you yourself cannot be saved. Don't get out of the ship. God's in control. Stop jumping off the ship. Stop abandoning the ship. Stop walking away from God, folks. Stop trying to do it your way. Just stay on the ship. Then the soldiers cut away the ropes of the ship's boat and let it fall away. Does that mean they listened to him? Did they finally learn their lesson? They cut away. They said, okay, cut away the boats. Nobody's leaving the ship. Stay on the ship. Maybe they finally learned their lesson. Maybe they were listening to Paul and saying, all right, then we'll stay on the boat. Until the day was about to dawn, Paul was encouraging them all to take some food, eat, encouraging them to eat because they were rationing their food. Look, everybody get some food. Everybody eat. Get your bellies full. Today is the 14th day that you have been constantly watching and going without eating, having taken nothing. Therefore, I encourage you, take some food for this, for your preservation, for not a hair from the head of any of you shall perish. Paul's saying, you're fine. Go ahead and eat. Nobody's going to die. It's going to be okay. That's the comfort. That's the comfort. Oh, my battery's about to die. Uh-oh. Using my new computer. Don't have it plugged in. 9%. I think we'll make it. I don't know. We'll see. He said, nobody's about to die. If I just shut off here, you know what happened, guys. Therefore, I encourage you to take some food for your preservation. Verse 35, and having said this, he took bread, gave thanks to God in the presence of all, and he broke it and began to eat. Hey, let's just go ahead and have a little communion while we're at it. The ship's about to sink, the storms, everybody's running around crazy. Paul's over here breaking bread and offering thanks. That's so how I want to be in the midst of my storms. And all this, and verse 36, and all of them were encouraged, and they themselves also took food. And all of us in the ship were 270 persons. And whenever they had eaten enough, they began to lighten the ship by throwing out the wheat into the sea. And whenever it came, and when day came, they could not recognize the land, but they did observe a certain bay with a beach, and they resolved to drive the ship onto it if they could. And casting off the anchors, they left them in the sea, while at the sea time they were loosening the ropes and the rudders and hoisting the foresails in the winds, and were heading for the beach. But striking a reef where two seas met, they ran the vessel aground, and the prow struck fast and remained immovable, but the stern began to be broken up by the force of the waves. And the soldiers' plan was to kill the prisoners, that none of them should swim away and escape. But the centurion, wanting to bring Paul safely through, kept them from this intention. And the commander commanded that those who could swim should jump overboard first and get to land, and the rest should follow, some on planks, others various things from the ship. And thus it happened that they all were brought safely to land. God was right, and they were all safe on land. If you trust God, if you hang with God, you find yourself safe on land. If your storm is all over the place, if you're falling apart, if your life is messy, find yourself on land. Find yourself resting in God's peace. Find yourself trusting God. He will get you safely to land. That's how it works. So I hope this has been an encouragement to you. We'll look at chapter 28 tomorrow. Some really cool stuff happens now that they're on the island. All of a sudden, Paul's in charge. All of a sudden, Paul has wisdom that everybody needs to listen to. That's what happens whenever you come back to the Word of God over and over again. You'll find this is where your hope is found. This is where your peace is found. Not in what you think needs to happen, not in what feels right. You got to trust this, and this is what happens. Also, by the way, folks, we'll wrap up. I think I'm going to go ahead and do our Rock Your Family Bible study after this. So we'll do Rock Your Family Quiet Time Bible study right after this, after I plug my computer in and charge it up a little bit. In about 15 or 20 minutes, we'll probably do the Rock Your Family Bible study in Philippians, the counseling Bible study that we do. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in today. I hope it's been a blessing to you. I'll go back and read. There is going to be a flip. Yes, Kimberly. See, I was thinking about it ahead of you. I didn't even see that. We'll do the Philippians Bible study today in about 15 minutes. Let's do that at 9:45. How about that? 9:45. Go to the Rock Your Family Facebook page. We'll be live on there doing the Philippians Bible study. Then, hey guys, trust God whenever your storm is crazy. Don't jump off the ship. Don't do your own thing. Just trust God. You'll see some good things happen. All right. So how do I shut this off? I don't know how to get that out of the way. There we go. All right, you guys, let me pray for you. Lord, thank you for today. Help us to stay on board, Lord. Help us to stay on your ship, trusting you, walking with you, doing your will in our lives. Lord, I pray that we would trust you with what doesn't feel safe, but trust you anyway, Lord, that you're in control and nothing happens till you say it happens. Lord, thank you for loving us. Thank you for another day to worship and walk and breathe there, Father. Help us to all do well this Thanksgiving. And I pray for sweet Sarah that you would heal her and her family, that COVID would not spread, and that she would get through the worst of it and feel better every day. Heal her body. For it's in Christ's name we pray. Amen. All right, guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Same time, 9 o'clock Central for the next few days until maybe all next week. We'll see how that goes. All right. You guys have a super terrific, great day. Keep on keeping on. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.